in our face.
Yes.
It's a set of bad values.
Give me time.
What was that, Bo?
I said, I'll get you there. Give me time. Go ahead with what you were saying.
Oh, okay. But, so we're talking about what happens with our medical insurance system here. Well, in the current context also, we'd say, what happens when, as a working person, or a wish to God you were a working person, which is now starting to outnumber the working people, you realize that you have a cough and you're starting to feel real bad. But if you walk out of your job and go and look for a hospital, at the ass end of that, you're not only out of a job, but you owe $35,000 to the hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can stay behind the counter and cough on people. What else are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it gets to a point where you don't even want to go. It's not even a consideration because you know you can't afford it. And but are they still doing like where you can go into emergency rooms and they'll bill you later?
That's always kind of been a misperception. Okay, there was legislation many years ago that said if you come in there and it's an acute condition, they have to stable before release. And what that means in practice is I've known hospitals to wheel a guy with an unset broken leg out to the curb and set his ass on the sidewalk.
No way. No way. Come on, they got to take care of it at least.
No, they don't have to cast it or set it necessarily. They have to make sure your condition is stable. Are you bleeding out? No. Mm-hmm. Good. They give you some aspirin for the pain? Good. You got no insurance and you're a student and you got income? Bye-bye. Seriously.
I can see that.
That's
what I'm saying. So this is the only country that that does it. I just want to make that clear, right?
I'm going to say this is the only developed nation, okay? I'm not saying that you would get better health care right now in Somalia.
No, I'm saying if you had no money at all, like all these countries, you go in there, you're hurt, they'll take care of you, send you on your way, give you a cheap prescription. But I'm saying that they won't even consider caring for you in America unless you have insurance. And is this the only nation that you know of that does this?
This is the only developed nation that I know of that operates this rapaciously and in this fashion. Years and years and years ago, there was a study done by, Ernst & Klein, I believe. And it was a study of medical reimbursement issues in 5 developed countries. That's pretty close to being the official title of it. And they asked physicians in the U.S., Canada, Germany, I think Japan and Australia, how they handled specific situations, one of which was, well, what do you do if a patient comes to you and they're seriously ill and they can't afford the treatment they need? And American doctors had all sorts of creative answers to that. Mm-hmm. Here's how we're going to finagle the system. Here's how we're going to establish a payment plan. And in every other nation, the doctors just looked at the interviewer and went, blank, blank. Why in the hell would that ever happen?
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah. It makes no sense to me.
It's a matter of design. Design a system for profit. Profit is what you get. It's a very simple equation. This system is operating as designed, which means that it's making a small number of people fabulously rich, and working class people are dying in droves. Any idea how many people die in the U.S. a year because they're simply uninsured or underinsured?
Bernie told me, but I forgot.
It's estimated at slightly over 80,000.
82 billion. How many?
80,000, más o menos.
I was way off.
Can you imagine if Saudi Arabia killed 80,000 Americans in a year, or North Korea killed 80,000 Americans? I mean, the country would be wiped off the map, but nobody's dropping a nuke on Cigna or Blue Shield.
So what do you think? What do you think about the Federal Reserve throwing $4,000 at the government to just do whatever with, and like the working class still hasn't seen any? They saw some. Some people have seen the $1,200 check. Some have not. So what?
Oh yeah, we're getting bupkis, and the Fed is printing something like $1 trillion a day, handing it off to Wall Street. And here's what I think about it. Bo, can I give you a long answer?
Please, I encourage you to, because I know it's going to be in agreement with me if it's wrong.
Okay. This is the third time in the current century, and I mean since 2000, when we've had an economic debacle. There was a dot-com crash in 2000, and it was bailed out. And then in 2008, it's interesting, they give all these different names for these different crashes, but they're really all symptomatically the same crash. It's unstable capitalism doing what unstable capitalism does. So in 2008, after Wall Street had just parting on these subprime mortgages that were garbage, right? They were giving money, they were lending money to people they knew would not be able to pay it back, and generating this enormous bullshit bubble of that's not money, right? A huge bubble. And then it starts to pop. And our new president, his action is, well, what the hell do I do here? Well, in some other countries, they would have said, okay, you hedge fund managers on there, the guys who actually engineered this, the wall for you, right? Or prison time. What the prior administration did was they threw money at the guys who caused the problem. The criminals who committed the fraud ended up getting trillions to blow that bubble back up, right? And the people who actually had defaulted on the loans, who predictably would have defaulted on the loans, well, they were just screwed. They lost their homes. They lost everything. So now, fast forward, it's a few years later, and it's a different Ponzi scheme. But it's the same players. And now, instead of subprime mortgages, it's stock buybacks, but they made themselves another big bubble, another bullshit bubble of that's not money. And that bubble is leaking so bad they've got to throw $1 trillion a day into it. But it's the same process. Who's getting rich?
Yeah.
Billionaires in this country are richer than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Does it feel? It feels intentional.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I mean, does it feel intentional?
It is, and it almost, is it like some sort of behind the closed doors conspiracy, or is it this system doing what the system does? And people with bad values who are at the top, who are the 1/10 of 1% who run everything.
So you agree with me?
I agree that there's a tiny percentage of 1% that runs everything. I agree that this is a plutocracy. I don't know at this point. How the hell do you disagree that this is a plutocracy when Harvard
agree.
is...
I'm there with you. I agree.
Oh, man, it is a really bad ran business. And, I've been looking at this energetically for like 10 years. And I really started looking at 2020 about 5 years ago. And I'm like, this can't sustain itself. This is getting way top heavy. And I was like, ego is going to destroy itself. There's going to be an implode. And here we are, capitalism. I think we've been in late stage capitalism for a while, but here we are watching some pillars fall.
I don't see how the insurance companies are going to last, because it seems like they would be like the most irrelevant at this time.
Well, here's the thing. They have a small function, and when I say they have a small function, there needs to be some concentrated nodes of expertise that's coming in from the medical providers who are saying, I treated this guy for this diagnosis with this procedure, and this is what I think it's worth, right? Who can process that data, who can abstract it so it's available to entities like the CDC, and who can cut to the people as appropriate. That's valid. The rest of it is crap. They could be doing what is valid for just a small percentage of the money they're getting. This could be done under single payer. People don't understand. They think that, well, if it's single payer, there will be a monolithic government entity that's doing all that, right? Gets all the claims, reviews all the information, cuts all the checks. It's not the way it works, particularly not in this country.
But isn't that
you got
a
Medicare bill?
Don't you think that's a problem, though? I mean, as opposed to the other countries?
Okay, I'm going to say this. I think the for-profit model is a problem in this country.
Yeah.
I think
you don't have that in the other countries, and that's why I'm saying that, you know?
Well, there's some you do and some you don't.
No.
Japan is capitalist, and you don't have this particular problem, for example.
Okay.
Or Germany or Denmark or, the people who are going on about democratic socialism, which isn't really democratic or socialism, those Scandinavian countries don't have the same kind of problem to this degree. Would we be smart to nationalize a lot of this? I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we're doing. I don't.
You can't die on me, Lee.
Where do we go from here? Neo-feudalism or socialism? It doesn't seem like there's a third door that we can step through.
Okay, we have to take care of people. If we don't take care of people, then everybody is susceptible and vulnerable. So if you know what I mean, there is a point where we're going to realize, oh shit, we're all in this together. I didn't realize. And people who are arrogant, on top, have a little bit more money, they're going to realize, oh shit, I am only as good as the other people around me who are not as fortunate, so to speak.
Right. And it turns out that a lot of the fortunate is not really fortunate so much as privilege in various forms.
Exactly.
Right.
Mindset. Right. So you understand that, or is it just me, that insurance companies in America are going to have a real tough time recovering, because if unemployment, if just 26 million so far have filed that, and we're not even talking if it goes another 15 days, another 2 weeks, if it goes another month, I would say it gets to 40 million.
Probably so. And this is something that we don't even talk about or think about or analyze. The American medical insurance system had its birth in the wake of World War II, which, because not only we had all the guys coming back from overseas, and the women were also kind of roped into joining industry for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And we had wiped out our competition. We had record low unemployment here. And workers, at the drop of a hat, could say, hey, boss, I don't know what you'd do without me, but Monday you're finding out, motherfucker. I got a better offer. Excuse my language.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're like, how do we retain these employees? We can offer them medical insurance tied to their employment here. Right. And gussy it up with some things like pre-existing conditions. So once you're nursing at that teat and your little Billy has a pre-existing condition, you can't split, right? You can't go elsewhere, or you have a problem. So that was the foundation. This weird situation that if you described it to a millennial, they think you were bullshitting. Okay, boomer. Right? They're like, record low unemployment and record high wages in this country. What